Thank you for what you're doing in cities, Jesus, and towns across our country, that you're moving and making a way. Lord, we love you. And so, would we just focus on the mission of being disciples to our communities and encouraging our um, just our neighbors and uplifting our cities, Jesus? We want to make your name famous. So, thank you just for the opportunity to serve you and to love you and to be loved by you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen, amen. All right. Well, it is good to see you all this morning here. We're going to have, I think, a great hour here together and learning a little bit together and just, I think, just being inspired by some really good stuff that is going on right now. Just we're going to do some intros, but I think the best way to do intros with the amount of people we have on this call is when you speak, when you contribute in some way. Share, if you could just share your name, where you're from, so we all kind of know a little bit more who's on this call, because we do have people from all over the country on this call here. So I'm going to start off with something I've been really thinking about here before we get into these website updates here. But I've been talking with different organizations around the country that are doing similar things, doing volunteerism, in the community. And what's interesting is almost everyone I'm talking with, if it's Movement Day or Plow people or whatever, there's so much of the focus is on the church, inspiring the church, to be the church in the community, especially at a time like this, in this divisive times we live in right now. And as I'm sharing with them, saying, that's exactly, my first go-to is we're the church, trying to inspire the church. But I said what has interesting how what we have done has evolved is we are the church inspiring the church, but we're also the church trying to inspire the community and enlarging the vision, of not just church people volunteering in the community, but the whole community volunteering. And I'm realizing so much of our cities are a lot alike, where you've got your 10% or so that's active in church, which unfortunately has gone down here this last year. You've got your, I don't know, maybe your 70 or 60% of people who claim to be Christian, but are not active in their faith, but for whatever reason, they were a part of a church, but not anymore. They would say hypocrisy, or just got busy with kids sports or whatever it is. And then you got, other faiths that are represented. But I think what we're doing is trying to say, everyone can volunteer, everyone can love their city. Doesn't matter if you have a faith background, if you have an active faith or inactive faith or no faith or a different faith, you're welcome to come and volunteer and love on the community. And when we do that, I think what we've seen is our impact in the community has grown exponentially. I mean, the media's a part, the government, the schools, everyone they feel more welcome to be a part when we're just not limiting it to just Christians, volunteering. And the amount of volunteers, not only maybe double or could triple or even more so, but the amount of volunteers you have just grows, tremendously as well. And so, it's been fun to talk with these different organizations and just say, I don't know what we're doing. We're just doing the best we can. And every city that I'm working with does it a little bit differently. When we started, we were just churches serving the community. But when people from the outside say, hey, can we volunteer too? Absolutely. It's just evolved that way. And I know all of us are in different places. And some of you have, if you look at your affiliations on your website, you might see more churches than you see other organizations. Some of you might see other organizations more than churches. I think what I'm just trying to say is keep enlarging your vision, and I think when we have the outside world come volunteer with us, they get to see who we are. They get to hear about what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. And I've had my favorite stories are the ones of people saying, listen, I don't know what it is about you guys, but there's something different about you. And I need more of that in my life, And I think if we just limit to just church people volunteering, you're not going to have that evangelistic kind of opportunities that you're going to have when you invite, the community to be a part. So don't change at all who you are. I mean, but be more who you are and inviting, welcoming people to be a part. What I'm saying is I'm seeing an openness among some of these other organizations that are saying that is so intriguing. was talking to Ottawa, Canada this last week. They've got something called Love Ottawa. And and it's all been about churches, helping the community. And the leader I was talking to saying, this is so intriguing because, I think there's an openness for that. Like, I think that might be the next step. If we're going to grow, if we're going to have a bigger impact in the community, we need to make that appeal to the whole community to sign up to volunteer as well. So anyhow, I don't know why I'm sharing all this. I'm just seeing this uniqueness that we have, that we're doing. And I think we can help inspire a lot of cities that are doing similar things and for them to have a bigger impact as well. And so if your city wants to be more community, not just church, church focused, but more community focused, if you need help with that, I'd love to help you with that. In some of our journey and how we, got to that point. If you all know cities, which you all do, that are around you where you're at, as well as maybe other parts of the country, if you know people in those cities that want what we have, and this community-wide, volunteer focus, helping the city be better, loving their city, caring for their city, please reach out to them, have me connect with them. I would love to get them on board. And of course, the incentive always is for any city that you guys get on board with us, we give you $250 off your annual donation. So we're just trying to onboard as many cities as we can and trying to impact as many people, as possible here. So, okay, that's my little reflection this morning for whatever it's worth here. Caleb is our media and communications coordinator, and so he's our website guy. Like, he's our techie guy, and you guys have all recommended some different website updates that we need to do every year, like we do this. And so we've made a bunch of updates, and I'm gonna have Caleb to walk through these updates that we've made to your website that's gonna make it better for you all in serving your cities. So go ahead, Caleb.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So the first few I'm going to walk through are kind of just notes, and I'll mention them briefly, and then some of the later ones on are bigger updates, and I'll walk through them briefly on the website so you can see what's going on there. So some of them are just some different errors that you guys brought up that have been resolved. We've updated the email on the front end to be the same interface as the back end because there were some minor things going on there that were causing issues. The contacts edit button error has been resolved, so that would go to an error page. Now that works properly. We've added a CAPTCHA on the account creation page, as well as updated to a more advanced CAPTCHA. So the CAPTCHA is like the checkbox on the account creation page to prove you're not a robot. And we've updated to a more advanced one on the suggest a project page, which so far we've seen some improvement in reducing the amount of spam that's been coming in through both of those with those implemented. New project submission emails that you receive when someone suggests a project now include address information for those of you who have maybe someone in city government who works with you to approve certain projects. Now they'll have that address information available without needing to reach out to you. So one of the things I want to show, let's see if I can share screen here. Jeff, can you make me a co-host?
I sure will.
All right. Okay.
By the way, I don't think I've received any spam here recently, like in the last couple months. So whatever's been done, I think it's working for us at least.
All right. So one of the things we've updated recently has been you now have the ability to search users by a range of when they have signed up or registered for a project. So what that means, I'll show an example here. So you're going to enter an event date. So this is mostly in terms of our big citywide volunteer days. So if you enter the event date, this was our event date last year, then you can say, I want to find the people who have signed up between September 1 and September 30, 2020. And then you can search that range. It'll bring up everyone who has signed up in that window of time for that event date. So then you can reach out to those who are, so you can create a download file to be able to email out or just email this list. So that allows you to reach out to those who have signed up without needing to reach out to everyone, even if they haven't signed up. Basically, it just adds some extra functionality there for who you can reach out to, and having that available. One of the biggest updates we've had is moving over. So everything that was included in the users page previously has now been moved over. So it's all in one place on the manage volunteers page, which is what I pulled up here. So that now gives the ability to search by email as well as name to find any user on the site. So
yes, good.
for example, I'll pull up myself here. And so all of the information is editable from here. You can assign roles just like you would on the users page previously. You can also now edit their email address, which wasn't an option before. So they don't need to go through and create a different account for a different email address now. You can update passwords and all of that, all in this space. And then also we've moved over the create new volunteer to this space as well. And all of the information is available there. It's basically like creating a user from the front end, but now you as an admin can do that from the back end. Cool.
That's
and
awesome.
Then the last item here is under the other settings tab. We now have an option for allowing a person to enter project date and duration when adding a project suggestion. This is something that a few of you had brought up, just not wanting to need to communicate back and forth when you have things outside of your citywide volunteer day, that the person who's suggesting the project can enter the date and time and duration that they want for that. So that's an option if some city leaders don't want that. I think it defaults to not being checked, but if you want your people suggesting projects to be able to input that information, then you can just check this box and that will now show up on your suggested project page. Now, one of the changes because of this is now if you go to the project suggestions, previously you would basically approve a project from the edit page. So the edit page still works. That's where you'll edit all of your information. And then once you submit, it will stay here in these project suggestions page. What you're going to do to approve a project now is go to the project details, and then you're going to click make to project, and that will move it over to your submitted projects. So I'll be creating some videos in the next week or two on our resources page with all of our different tutorials, just with these updates, because I know some things have changed on the back end, and I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with that. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out, email me, and I can help walk you through anything if there's any confusion. So then I want to walk through some of the things we have coming down the line. One of the things that'll be done in the next couple weeks is the option to add additional affiliates. So if you have users who might be, affiliated with a church as well as a local business, they can select multiple affiliations so that you're not losing out on information of one of those affiliates. We're looking at updating some of our email features on the back end and front end, like things like CCing and being able to send attachments, things like that. Modernizing our page creation features is another thing we're starting to focus on. And then the other one I have written down here is social media integration when signing up for a project. So these are the ones we're focusing on in the near future. There's some others we've gathered from you guys that we're going to continue to work toward. These are the ones that are kind of our priorities at the moment. So that covers everything that's been updated recently and what we have coming up.
Awesome. Any questions, anyone? All right, we can
Hey,
go.
Caleb.
Yeah.
Do volunteers enter their email twice to verify the email just a little finer?
Is that on the account creation page? Are you wondering?
That would be a volunteer signing up to serve. I know we had issues in the past where a volunteer signed up, gave their email, but they gave a wrong email by a digit, and then we lost that in being able to communicate with them. I know that was a suggestion in the past. I don't know if that's
Cool.
feature
I'll double check if that's a feature now, and if not, I'll add it to our list here.
super.
Verifying email. Great.
Well,
Thanks for
with
bringing that up.
the name being able to be searched now rather than the email, would that make it easier to find?
Yeah. So that was the idea there is, before it was difficult to search if you didn't know the exact email address. Now you can search by the name of the person. So either one you can search by now. Yep.
All right, awesome job, Caleb. Thank you so much for all you're doing, and I'm just excited for what's happened here, but as well as excited for the future. We even talk about modernizing the website too. I think that's going to be some really exciting things for us all going forward here. All right, thank you, sir. You can jump off if you want, or you can stay on. It's up to you. All right, want to talk about this year's volunteer days that you guys are planning, and your virtual rallies and all that. I want to spend a couple minutes on this. So just, let me just share real briefly. This is what that we're doing. We're doing April 24th and October 9th. And we're doing 2 dates this year because we're not having a big rally. You cannot obviously do that and have a big gathering and all that. And so we have about, I think maybe up to 70 projects that are all safety protocols in place, a lot of drop-offs, a lot of manual labor, all outside, those kind of creative kind of projects. And I've kind of sent you all some COVID project ideas. We went over that last meeting. If you did not get that, let me know and I can send that to you. What I'm hearing back is by having 2 dates, it really helps our sponsors have not dropped off. Our sponsors, I mean, at least so far, have all continued. I've even gained a couple of sponsors. And a lot of it is because, hey, I'm giving you you're going to be on the website year round. We're going to be promoting you year round, not just in the spring. But I know we're not having your big banner up downtown. I know you're not getting all that attention, but you are getting the attention of having 2 dates throughout the year. That has been a huge win. That is really, I think, hooked in a lot of sponsors that maybe would be like, am I really getting my money's worth by just doing it, by not having the rally and all that. So that's been a big thing for us. And be honest with you, I'm already planning for 2022. And I can't wait to have the biggest coming back party in our city's history on April 2022, if everything goes hopefully as we want. And I just want to blow it out, man. I always want to go back to the one spring date a year and, having new t-shirts and a pancake breakfast and rally and music and giveaways. Hopefully Disneyland will be open by then. We have Disneyland tickets to give away, all that kind of stuff. But that's in 2022. But I'm already thinking and planning for that. And I hope you guys are kind of thinking already that hopefully in 2022, we can have somewhat of normalcy. There still might be, masks and some distance and things like that. Everyone's still going to be careful, but hopefully we can come back. But for this year, that's what I'm thinking for this year. What are some of your guys' plans for this year? I know if you haven't shared already, I just want to see, are you tracking? Are you planning on the fall? Are you planning on the spring? Are you planning on just projects and not gathering as a large group? Is that kind of what everybody's planning on doing? Go ahead and a couple of you guys share kind of some of your plans.
So this is Howard White calling from Tuolumne County. Love Tuolumne County. Thank you, Jeff, for doing this. This is a question I had asked Jeff last month if there are some suggestions for what is going to happen during the rally. Are we doing drive-ins? Are we doing drive-ups? Are we doing drive-throughs? Or whatever is going on. Tuolumne County tried to do last year is our first year. We weren't able to, of course, but we have done a few projects during the year. We are working on trying to have 15 or 20 projects this year as our first real big day. They are going to be primarily outdoor projects, social distancing. Tuolumne County is actually greatly reducing our COVID counts, and we are dangerously close to moving up to the purple tier. So, or moving out of the purple tier. So, we think that by April time frame, we may be in better shape than we are today. So we're looking forward to that. But at this point, we are going to proceed with small projects. But the rally has always been the big challenge for us. It's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to include? And how can we get the experience of being part of a bigger event without having a bigger event? And so my question is, you know, to Jeff was, hey, what are some of the other teams doing, and what can we do to do that? Our day is going to be April 24th and 25th, because we have Seventh-day Adventist as one of our main churches, and they obviously don't want to work on Saturday Sabbath, so they're going to work on Sundays. And several of our projects actually are going to be on Sunday too, so it's going to work out for us. So that's my question is, you know, as we're putting together our rally plans, just to get some insights from you people that have already done it before and can help us out. Thanks.
All right. Is anyone, I mean, depending on what part of the country or depending on what county you're in, is anybody planning on having a large group of people come in the same area? So I
Yeah,
don't
Jeff,
think we can.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
share about Love Irvine and kind
Yeah.
of what our plans are for the rally. Hi,
Please.
everyone. My name is Raina. Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off. What were you
That's
saying?
okay. Please go for it. Share.
Yeah, so I have such a privilege to be able to launch Love Irvine, and we have two people on here, Casey and Jason, who are going to be a huge support with our efforts. So our plan is actually doing a appreciation parade in the city of Irvine, and our rally is going to look like everybody having cars, and they're going to be we're going to have stations to let them decorate their cars. So whether it's a balloon station, a poster station, you know, it could be like a various decorative elements where they can actually be in one place, and we're all decorating the cars together. So that's actually going to be a very large project, but also a form of rallying for Irvine. And on top of the appreciation parade, we do plan on having some projects with local nonprofits. So that's kind of our
Okay.
idea for a rally I wanted to share.
That's great. That is so creative. I love it. Very cool. Anyone else have any creative ideas?
Just to say what we've been talking about, we are planning at this point to do a drive-through more than a drive-in, a drive-up,
Gotcha.
because we had talked about getting a radio transmitter, FM transmitter, and being able to have everyone sit in their cars and listen to speeches and music and everything else through their radios. But it seems like that's a fair amount more time, and it doesn't really get the socialization that we're looking for. The good news is that we can get all of our shirts done. We can hand out paperwork and file forms, and you know, maybe have coffee and donuts or something available that we can hand out at that point. Otherwise, we wind up doing a drive-through, and we'll hand them a goodie bag, and all of that information will be on paper as opposed to being presented audibly. So we are still struggling with, how do you make that a meaningful experience? That's really the question. How do you make that a worthwhile experience so people go, well, that was a waste, you know, and then you waste an hour and a half or 2 hours of your project time.
Yeah.
You want to make it meaningful. That's my question.
No, I hear you. That's good. Anyone have any response?
I'm Mandy here from Waterford. Ignore the name at the bottom there. That's just to throw everyone off. So little, just to add on to that, we are doing kind of something in between. We're doing the virtual rally at 8:30. That's just going to be a short video that's shared. And then we're also doing kind of a drive-through sort of situation. But of course, we're a very small town, so that's helpful in that we only need to have about a half-hour window to be able to say, okay, watch at 8:30, come and drive through this location, and then you can still be at your project by 9, 9:15 is a lot more feasible than a larger town. But what we're doing is having that drive-through location be our drop-off location. So while we're telling people to come and pick up that goodie bag, with our information in it and some water and some other little kind of helpful things, and have the possibility to purchase t-shirts, we're also being really deliberate about saying, in our rally video, here's the things that you can contribute to different nonprofits during this time that's really helpful. And then as you come through and pick up that bag, you can drop it off. So there'll be a lot of project leaders there with those drop-offs, and it helps kind of build that look of the gathering, even with those tables all spaced out. This is going to be at the local high school, so they have a big roundabout drive-through. So you'll have that kind of car parade type situation going through, but by making it a drop-off location as well as the pickup location, it kind of just adds to the atmosphere a little bit.
That's good. Very good. Well, I'll just share, what our plans are is, we had over 3,000 volunteers last October, and we didn't have any central anything. It was just virtual rally, and then go to your project location or your drop off or whatever you do. And really, I think that's really our plans. Again, I don't think we can get thousands of people to go in a line beforehand. And again, I think Howard, the experience, you want the experience to be great. I don't think I could create a good enough experience that it'd be worth the time for thousands of people to line up in cars. It's just not going to work. But our virtual rally, did the best we could on it. At 8 o'clock, we say virtual rally. It's about 10 minutes long, a little less than 10 minutes. And then 9 o'clock, go to your project locations. That's our plan. What I'll do is, our virtual rally agenda is, it's mainly welcome, thank the sponsors, make sure you do a good job of thanking the sponsors, and just hit a home run for them. Talk a little about love our cities, and we're part of something bigger, not just our own town, but something bigger. Caleb and I have even talked about putting together a short video that for you guys, if you wanted to play it if you do a virtual rally, just to share here's something we're bigger part of, something going on in our own city. So I'm thinking about putting together something for you guys if you want to play that or not. I share the third point is, why we're doing what we're doing. My faith motivates this effort. Share about what we're doing year round. This isn't about the day. It's about what we do all year round. That's going to make a difference. And then share about the details for the day. Here's some specifics that you need to know, for your day to be successful. What I'm going to do, it's a 1-pager and it's a template, but I'm going to send this out in an email to you all, as well as the YouTube link to the video, the virtual rally that we did this last October. And again, this worked for us. It wasn't a home run, but I think it was at least a double, and so I'm going to send that so you can look at it, and if whatever on there works for you, great. Whatever doesn't work for you, that's great too as well. But I think that virtual rally is the best way we can to connect, people together. We're talking about doing some giveaways too, some baskets, some drawings and all that we could do. Practically, we film this virtual rally the night before or the day before. It's going to look like it's live. We're going to do everything we can to look like it's live, but we're going to do some editing so it looks professional, adding some graphics and email addresses or phone numbers or whatever. We just want to make sure it looks real professional, but we're going to film it the night before and make sure it's done really well. Then we do YouTube. We do a countdown clock on YouTube. So it just looks kind of fun leading up to it. And then at 8 o'clock, when all over social media, we post, the videos live and all that kind of stuff. You don't get near the attendance. We didn't, out of 3,000 people, maybe at best 1,000 people, attended. That's just how it goes. But it's an idea that might work. So there's parade ideas, there's drop through ideas. The main thing is we can't cheat these projects. That's the point why we're doing what we're doing, and not putting too much time into the rally as much as, the projects, make sure they're successful for everyone. All right, it's 8:30, so it is time to introduce our amazing guest we have. Well, it's not a guest, it's one of our own guys here, but I'm super excited to get to know Ian these last couple years with Costa Mesa, and just so proud of the efforts that are happening down south here. And so I want to just have a time of just like a little short kind of interview that you guys get to learn a little bit about another city leader, just like you all, doing what you're doing, but doing it in a different city. A lot of similarities, but there might be some unique differences as well, some unique things that he's doing that we all can learn from, some ideas that maybe you haven't thought of before. And that's why I want to have this kind of time of getting to know different city leaders. So next month we'll profile someone else here and get to know you as well. So Ian, tell us a little bit about yourself, briefly.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So I was born in Ireland. I was raised on the East Coast, came out here to California 6 months after I was married, 1987, to Costa Mesa in Orange County, where I still live. So I've lived here now for 35 years, I guess. And it's been a city that we've just fallen in love with. So we came out here first to get kind of trained by a navigator couple that was living out here. And we're doing ministry with them at UC Irvine and working full time. And in the process of that, we helped to start a church. So we helped plant a church here in Costa Mesa that grew quite significantly. And as I was on staff at that church, I was part of a group of pastors and leaders that were praying for our city. And so I started to develop just a real passion and heart for the city. And ultimately, I kept asking the questions, great, we're praying for all these things, but when are we going to start working together on them? And so ultimately, we started working together on all kinds of things in the city, and things kept growing and emerging, and that's kind of how what we're doing now, called Trellis, emerged in our city. So that's a quick recap, Jeff. I hope that's short enough.
All right, well, take us on a tour of your city, and tell us what it's like, including your city's vision. I know you got a video that is going to share better than just this format. So go ahead and.
Yeah, so instead of listening to me talk, we thought it might be more fun for you guys to be able to watch a video that and help you see a little bit about our city. So we're in Costa Mesa in Orange County. So Orange County, if you've never been to Orange County, California, we're right below LA. Orange County is 34 cities, 3.3 million people. We're one of those cities. Costa Mesa is one of those 34 cities. It's just like cement jungle, right? Like one city after the other. You can't tell where one begins and the other ends. But we believe every city needs to have a movement going on in it. So that's where we've really focused. And so this will give you a little bit of a feel for Costa Mesa. Whoop. I don't know why there's no volume.
Hey, Ian, if you unshare and then you click the share computer sound, the volume should be on.
Okay. Do what? Hit unshare? Stop
Thank
share?
you.
And then do what?
Okay, bye.
Press share screen.
Share screen? Yeah.
And then click the share computer sound on the left-hand corner.
I don't see that. Share
Of course, when we did this before the meeting, it worked great. It's always perfect when it's during the meeting, it doesn't work.
I don't see a share computer sound thing, but let me try it again.
Try it again.
No. Oh, brother. Oh, well, I can just tell you about it, I guess.
And send me the link as well, and I can include it in the email too.
Okay. Yeah, so Costa Mesa, we're right next to Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, right on the coast of Orange County. So Newport Beach is one of the highest economic zip codes, probably in the nation. Huntington Beach, very popular city. You guys probably know as Surf City, right next to us. And so Costa Mesa is a unique community because it's sort of a combination of both the haves and the have-nots. So we're sort of like a servant community to some of the other communities around us. We're sort of like a more blue collar, way more blue collar than Newport Beach, but we still also have a lot of high end. And we have a real challenge in our city is this combination between the Hispanic community, which tend to be the dishwashers, the people that are really working class, the landscapers, all of them. And then we also have the high end. So we've got a real diversity in our city, a real kind of almost divide. We have a freeway that goes right down the middle of Costa Mesa, and it divides the east side and the west side. And the west side is primarily Hispanic. The east side is all like higher end, kind of Anglo-Saxon stuff. So we've got this issue in our city. Costa Mesa is currently the home to the LA Chargers. It's where they have their camp, their training camp. We have a family that was significant in settling Costa Mesa called the Segerstroms, and they they kind of set the course for Costa Mesa to be City of the Arts. So the Orange County Performing Arts Center is in Costa Mesa. So we have, you know, top-notch Broadway performances and stuff from all over the world. Of course, with COVID, they've been completely shut down, but that is kind of one of the big issues in Costa Mesa. And then we also have South Coast Plaza, which is a destination mall that people come to actually from all over the world to shop at South Plaza. So it's one of the significant things. Our history goes all the way back to the 1800s when it was just a really small like farming community. And it's continued to grow and evolve and become kind of this urban, it's like a little urban growing city. A matter of fact, with the housing element that just came out for the state of California, we have to add 11,000 units in the next 8 years in our city in order to help deal with some, even the housing challenges that are being faced in California across the state. So one of our unique challenges in Costa Mesa is homelessness. If we talk to City Hall, talk to the police, talk to fire, talk to all those guys, they'll say, yeah, our biggest challenge, the thing we spend the most money on, the thing we get the most complaints about from residents, from businesses is homelessness. So, that's just a little bit about our city. I don't know if there's any specific questions, Jeff, you have?
Yeah, like any unique qualities that you haven't shared already that you love about your city, any unique challenges that your city faces that you haven't shared already?
Yeah, I think, you know, the unique challenges really is this racial divide. Like that's a big deal, like trying to get a lot of our Hispanic community to feel safe and to even feel like they can relate and they can connect with the Anglo community. We see that in the church world. We see that in the schools. We see that all the way across our community. Like that's a very significant challenge. And then, you know, the homeless challenge is not unique, but it's indeed significant. At one point, we had the highest teen pregnancy rate in one of our zip codes here in Costa Mesa. It is the highest teen pregnancy rate in all of Orange County, but that's since changed. That's gone down. So that's kind of a cool thing where we've seen movement. But you know, those are some of the unique things we have. What I love about the city is it's eclectic. So we have some of our friends from Irvine on here, which is one of our neighboring cities. And Irvine's a very diverse city in terms of ethnicity, but if you drive through Irvine, it all kind of looks the same. Like it looks like it's perfect. I mean, it's a planned community, everything. But Costa Mesa, which is right near it, is very eclectic. We have houses that look really old. We have new houses. We have this great diversity, but it's a very eclectic kind of community. And we have amazing food in Costa Mesa. Let me tell you, we have some of the best restaurants and some of the best, you know, eateries and that kind of vibe. We have some really creative like malls, not only South Coast Plaza, but we have the Anti-Mall. We have all these really cool places where you can hang out. And then of course it's unique that we're the home of the Chargers. The Chargers home base is here in Costa Mesa. It's where they practice, it's where their offices are, all that stuff. So those are a couple unique things.
Okay, so how did you hear about Love Our Cities, and what are some ways we've been a help to you?
Well, first heard about Love Our Cities directly, kind of had a little history with them because years and years ago, we did a thing in Orange County here called Serve Day. And we actually had created some software that we did Serve Day for about 5 years, and we were involving other cities in the county, and the software was developed. And then we all decided we're going to take a break. We're going to not do Serve Day. And so the software kind of floated away, and Jeff was smart enough to kind of grab that software And now they've evolved it into what it is today. So I kind of always had a little bit of an idea, okay, something's going on up in Modesto. And then it was Jay Williams here, who I think shared last week. He's one of our neighboring cities in Orange County up in Fullerton. And he was telling me all about how they've been using Love Our City. So we looked into it more, and it's just been awesome. We actually took a team and we went up and visited Modesto and watched their rally and met with their team. And so they've just been a huge encouragement and help, even with how they've evolved the software that's now being used on their platform, all the ideas, the whole back of house, all the documents and everything that they make available to be able to plagiarize and use however we need to make it better for our city. So Jeff, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done, man, to just stimulate these movements throughout the country, really. So you've been a huge encouragement to us in that process.
Thank you. Hey, share a bit about your volunteer days that you do, as well as the other efforts. I know you do a lot, so you only got a minute or so, but share a little bit about an overview of some of the things that you're doing in your community to help make your community the best.
Yeah, so we really, because we'd had experience with the Serve Day thing in the past, we really, our frustration with the Serve Day thing in the past was that it was just a day and people were coming and doing the day and then they weren't doing it. So we said, we don't want them to come to the wedding. We want them to have a marriage. Yeah. And so we really started Trellis with the idea of how do we engage people in an ongoing relationship with impacting their community. And we wanted to start with the church. So we really focused initially on all the relationships with the pastors and giving them a vision for what could happen in our city. So one of the strengths, I think, of what we do is we have a very strong pastors team. We actually have a team now of 10 pastors that are really leading the effort in our city. And it's not just for churches. It's for the city. It's for the nonprofits. So last year we had 35 churches, 20 nonprofits, and 20 businesses all partnering together in our efforts. But we have 4 main things that we're trying to pull people together around. So our mission is to mobilize people around the city's greater challenges: practical, relational, and spiritual. So spiritually, we try to pull people together in prayer. So we actually have a prayer strategy for our city. We have leaders from multiple churches working together year round to make sure prayer is happening, expanding, and deepening in our city. The next, in relationship, we have neighboring. So we really focus on neighboring. We have a neighboring network in our city that has identified people who want to be intentional neighbors, who want to really do things to impact their neighborhood. We encourage them year round. We stimulate them year round. And then practically, we look at 2 things: the schools, because that represents the next generation. So we have worked to have at least one church engaged on an ongoing basis with every school in the city, encouraging the staff, impacting the facilities, helping the parents, doing whatever they can. So we're now working with School Connect to really build that out more. And then homelessness. So in homelessness, through our collective efforts, we have multiple churches that help run a check-in center that's open every single day. We've started a transitional work program. Again, it's multiple churches working together to make this stuff happen. And it happens on an ongoing basis. So those are sort of our 4 initiatives that are all built out of really this team of pastors that are leading the way in our city. And we do a quarterly city leaders gathering, which invites all leaders from every domain in the city to meet up once a quarter and just get up. They always have an opportunity to meet a new city leader. So we'll have the city manager, city council member, school board, or superintendent or whatever will share, and people will get to know these city leaders. And then we'll also talk specifically about one of our specific initiatives at one of those gatherings and bring them up to date with what's going on collectively. So that's sort of our model, our base.
What would you say that's working well for you right now? What are some things that maybe aren't working so well?
Yeah, when I saw this question, Jeff, I wanted to answer the same thing to both sides of that. I think it's relationships. Eric Swanson's on here, and we meet up with other leaders around the nation, and we always talk about these movements only move at the speed of relationship.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's what's working well, and that's also what's working not so well, because relationships are like that. There's pastors, there's leaders, there's elected officials that come in and then they go out, and they come in and then they go out. And so it's working well for us right now. Like this team of 10 pastors, it's exciting, it's awesome. But at the same time, on the periphery with a lot of our other churches, there's pastors leaving, there's pastors, so it's always this relational thing, which I think if we're all honest, it's something that goes well and doesn't go so well almost at the same time. And so you just have to really stay in the relational game with leaders in and throughout the city. Otherwise, it's just going to be an event. It's not going to have ongoing impact. It's just going to be something that happens.
Yeah, that's really good, Ian. Anybody else relate to that? I mean, it's hard work. Relational game is hard work, but it's where we have to be. So how do you connect with and get businesses, congregations, nonprofits, government, schools, community groups behind your efforts? What are some strategies? What are some ideas, practical things that you get all these different groups behind what you do?
I think it's two things: intentional leaders for each area and regular rhythms for each area. And, it's kind of like going back to the relationship thing, like somebody's got to drive it, right? Like no matter what relationship thing you're in, your marriage, your family, whatever, someone's got to take the lead. So there's got to be, so like for us, we have a leader in prayer. We have a leader in schools. We have a leader, and they're very intentional about those relationships and creating the rhythms so that it continues. So in each area that you're really trying to make an ongoing difference in your city, you have to think about who's the one that's writing point on this, that's giving care and heart to it, and what rhythms are they creating that will allow the relationships to build. And the temptation is, just like in your marriage, when you might skip date nights, like, right, I don't want to do date night tonight. I'm a little too tired. I don't feel like it. It doesn't matter. You need to do a date night because that's what helps keep your relationship going. And it's the same kind of thing with this. So whatever area in your city that you're trying to really create momentum, identify that leader, create rhythms, and don't back off on them. No matter how lousy you feel or how much you don't let go of it, because at the end of the game, all ministry is about relationship. And if someone's not really driving that, then you'll lose it.
That's good. So if we were to walk the streets of Costa Mesa and get some of those good fish tacos that I'm reading about on the side here and some of the other great food, and just talk with people, and we were to ask them, hey, what comes to your mind when you think of Love Costa Mesa or Trellis? What would people say? What do you think the average person on the streets on the south side of the freeway and the north side of the freeway, what do you think they would say?
Well, they would say, I mean, we have incredible favor in this city, I think, at every level. And people would say, we love Trellis. They're the ones that pull us together. Our city council members would say, Love Costa Mesa Day is one of our favorite days of the year. And we're so grateful that they put that on. People are very, they're aware of us. A lot of people might say, yeah, they're the folks that do a lot with the homeless, because that's kind of the more, the thing that's a little more recognized because of the urgency in the city. So I think a lot of people would tie us to that. But I think in general, people are pretty excited about what they're seeing emerging in our city with that.
So what are your dreams for the next 5 years, even 10 years? I mean, where do you see Love Costa Mesa? Where do you see Trellis?
Yeah, well, we see Love Costa Mesa emerging as the Costa Mesa movement, with this team of pastors really leading it. And then Trellis wants to become basically a support system for, as best as we can, for other cities that are trying to get movements going in Orange County. So to answer your question directly, 5 to 10 years from now, I want to see every city in Orange County, all 34 of them, I want to see a city-centric body of Christ movement that is pulling that whole community together and leading the way in their cities to really let people know how much they matter to God. That's what I want to see. Like Jay Williams, who's on here from Fullerton. We got Jason Aguilar and KC. They're both from Irvine, which is just getting started. Like, we just want to do all we can to help encourage them, support them, provide things that will help them advance the movement that they're creating in their city. So that's sort of our dream.
Hey, we talked a couple months ago about, these group of pastors and this ministerium that is happening. And I share with you my experience in almost all the cities that I work with. Ministeriums are struggling. They're not, I don't know a whole lot of a thriving groups of pastors that come together. I just don't know a lot. And I've been doing this for 12 years and I've been to a lot of these meetings. You're doing something with your pastors. And we talked about, is there a way that, you might be able to assist any of our cities in some insights, some, I know relationships, but any other practical ways or assistance and helping each of our cities get our ministeriums where they should be? Because that really is the core strength of our cities. When we have pastors get them together, as you know, that's a huge strength. And if you don't have that, it's not a strength for your city.
Yeah, we would love to help any city that's really wrangling with that and how to go about developing a stronger team of pastors and leaders. One of the things I've been most excited about this last year is this team, this lead team of pastors that's really taking ownership for it in our city. So I'd love to share some of the principles and even practical practices that we've walked out to help get to that place. So if anyone is needing some input on that, we're glad to help. Yeah,
that's great. Thank you. Yeah. So if you're trying to get, your pastors in your city to come together, if it's a monthly or, just meet, get to know each other, be on the same team, the same kingdom team, in the town. And I appreciate Ian being a resource. Hey, any final practical advice that you could share, what you've learned over these years with all of us and us trying to make an impact in our cities?
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it on that line of pastors, Jeff, because that is so key. I think there's lots of cities where pastors get together and they have lunch and they maybe pray. But I don't know that there's a lot of cities where the pastors are really coming together and saying, we are going to rally together, work together to accomplish this. And so what I've learned, I think, over these years in doing this is like, build relationship with them enough, but then don't be afraid to challenge them. But the challenge comes from a place of them seeing what God's doing and how they can be part of it. And I think a lot of times we are afraid to challenge pastors to come together for more. And I would just say, don't be afraid to do that. They're just men and women, like the rest of us. And when they sense what God's doing and they sense how they can be a part of helping advance the kingdom, if God's working in it, if he's in the midst of it, they'll rise, they'll come into it. And, but we just have to have the courage to be willing to not only challenge them, but lead them in it. So So don't shy away from that.
Well, that's good. Any questions that what you heard that you have for Ian, or any insights that you heard that stuck out to you? Everyone else, not you, Ian, but everybody else. Look at everybody's just dumbfounded. They're just overwhelmed with the intelligence, the insights that you have
No,
shared.
I would say, yeah, it's probably true. Just the whole thing you're saying, Ian, about pastors coming together. I know I've been here in this city for some years here. I planted our church 5 years ago. And when I first came, yeah, there was a pastors group actually that I was part of and actually helped leading, and I kind of got into leadership by default actually. But I noticed that those same leaders, the way it was like, 5 years ago, today is a totally different group of pastors. Everything changes. Like there are some pastors that are not pastors anymore. There's some churches that don't even exist anymore. There's just so much has happened even in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it true that you have to stay with the relational game. That's the one that I think that really spoke to me a lot, because it's like, I'm like, man, I'm doing relationships really well, and then I'm doing relationships not so well. And it's not like there's a medium. It's like I'm doing it really well or doing it really bad, or it feels like it anyway. But you just got to stick with it, because I mean, a relationship is a two-way street, and it's got to go both ways. So I find that to be extremely true. It seems to be transient. There's always a lot of movement happening, and you never know, because there's some guys that come back into your world that you don't realize, wow, they weren't even in the game for a little bit, and then they come back and wow, they contribute. So I think staying committed. And then I think the last thing or second thing that I thought just in my mind was that for the most part, I think pastors do see that God is at work with something so much bigger than their own church. So if that can somehow be clarified, if they could see the connecting of the dots where there is actual God movements and they buy into it, I think it could be very powerful. So I think that's what I'm trying to think through in our city for sure. Yeah.
It's so good, Jason. And, just to affirm Jeff, like that's the value in these kinds of things for all of us, because sometimes we even get just myopic in our city and we don't realize what God's doing in other cities across the country, and when you hear that and you know that, and you can help connect those dots for the pastors and leaders in your city and help them understand that they can be part of something that God's doing. Like, this isn't about us. It's about what God wants to do. It's about what he's doing. And so hearing these stories, building these relationships that Jeff's doing such a great job of trying to facilitate, and Eric and others, like there's so much value to it, So I just really want to encourage that. And that's what keeps us in the game, Jason, right? Like when we know, okay, God's doing something bigger than us, and how do I play my part, right?
All right, hey, it's 9 o'clock West Coast time, and I told y'all we're gonna stay true to this. I want to honor your guys' time. Thank you so much, everyone, for jumping on in, and Ian, thank you for sharing, man. This was awesome, and I feel inspired, man. Let's go. I want to go kick butt in my city right now. Let's do it. All right, you guys. Blessings to you. We'll be in touch here. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.